Usually, we have teaching on the 1st of June with the school children. So it's been quite a number of years since we started this program. So today I'm going to do the empowerment of Avalokiteshvara. It will be the preliminary process today, and then tomorrow the actual initiation. So I thought of doing the initiation in this way. So Jongla Rinpoche was a very good friend, a Dharma friend of mine. He has passed away. So every year we do this teaching on the 1st of June for the school children. And today I wanted to do the initiation of Avalokiteshvara. Today will be the preliminary process, and then tomorrow the actual initiation. And we have the statue of Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva, known as Girongcho. So there was a tradition of calling two Avalokiteshvara brothers. So during the 5th Dalai Lama's time, this statue of Girong Lokeshwara and the one in Lhasa were kept together, and so the 13th Dalai Lama, he's only saying the 13th Dalai Lama did meditation on Avalokiteshvara with these two statues together. So after coming into exile, Dzongkhapa monastery, Dzongkhapa monastery brought this statue up to Nepal, and Chushigangdo also helped in this venture. And then from Nepal to India, it was brought from Nepal to India here in India. And then when I first saw it, I felt very happy. And then when Dzongkhapa monastery was shifting to South India, Bodhisattva, whether it was to be moved to South India with the Dzongkapa monks or to stay here, to remain here. I did a divination, and Dzongkapa are quite wanted to have. So Bodhisattva, Lokeshwara Bodhisattva, didn't want to go to South India, but to remain with me. And so he has been with me since then. So I am like the representative of Avalokiteshvara in terms of his body, speech, and mind. And Bodhisattva stays with me in my room, residence. So when I look at Bodhisattva's face, sometimes he looks smiling, and so Bodhisattva stays with me. And because we are going to do during this Sagadava month, the 100 million recitation of Mani mantras, or Mani Padme Hum mantras, in order for that reason, we do the initiation of Avalokiteshvara in the beginning before starting the ritual. So today will be the preliminary process, and tomorrow the actual initiation of Avalokiteshvara. So we'll do that way. And then there will be the recitation of the 100 million Mani mantras. So this is a prayer to Avalokiteshvara, which says the 1,000 arms represents the 1,000 chakravartins, and the 1,000 eyes represent the 1,000 Buddhas of this eon, and Avalokiteshvara serves sentient beings in accordance with their predispositions, and therefore I prostrate to Avalokiteshvara. So Avalokiteshvara is the unique patron deity of Tibet. So today we are going to do the Avalokiteshvara, the great compassionate deity's preliminary process of the initiation. So in the past, something happened. One night I had a dream. I went into the Lhasa Jokang temple. And when I reached the Rangjung Ngadin temple, the temple of the Avalokiteshvara, known for the 5 features, which are self-manifested. When I reached that door of that temple, the Avalokiteshvara was actually winking at me. And when I felt also very happy. And then I actually embraced Avalokiteshvara, went forward and embraced him. And I was crying also. And Avalokiteshvara was saying to me this prayer, strive hard without losing heart, and without any indolence. This prayer comes from the Bodhisattva Avatara. Prayer of Maitreya. And then after that, there was the destruction of this statue, Rangjung statue, and I received some parts of this part of the head of Avalokiteshvara. It is here in the temple, and some parts I put into this Avalokiteshvara 1,001 arms, 1,000 eyed Avalokiteshvara statue that is here in the temple. So this is one of the main representations of a deity in the temple here. And then, with regard to Lobhan Rinpoche, Guru Padmasambhava, so before I left Lhasa, I built a statue of Avalokiteshvara, Guru Padmasambhava in Lhasa. So Guru Rinpoche has a very unique connection with Tibet, and therefore I constructed this statue of Guru Padmasambhava as well. And so today we are going to do the preliminary process of the initiation of Avalokiteshvara. And today, these days, through the internet, my teachings and Avalokiteshvaras and so forth are being brought live webcast. So I have received questions from people in China and Tibet and so forth. So they are asking whether they will receive the initiation of Avalokiteshvara from this distance. I said, yes, if your faith and devotion are unwavering, although we are physically distant from each other. So I said, Tibetans who have the special deity, connection with the special deity of Avalokiteshvara, and also the Chinese in proper mainland China. And so with your devotion, your faith, and your commitment, and special bond, I mean, there's this distance doesn't make a difference here. So I will have you all in my mind when I give the initiation. So as a preliminary to the teaching itself, I will do the praise to Buddha for teaching dependent origination. So I will do the So Rinpoche was very much into the teaching of emptiness. And so he gave thought too. He reflected on the dependent origination and emptiness. So His Holiness has to wear the other microphone because of the teaching going live on the web. So Rinpoche had a special interest in the teaching of the dependent origination, and he was having having the vision of Manjushri. And then Manjushri advised him to do some purification and accumulation of merit, purification of negativities and accumulation of merit. In connection with the confession prayer of the 35 Buddhas. And then he had a vision of the vision of Master Nagarjuna and 5 of his disciples. And amongst the disciples was Buddha Palita, who had... So the teacher and the disciples were having discussion on emptiness, on dependent origination. And Rinpoche had, we talk about having the dream, but it was actually a vision that Tsongkhapa had. So amongst the disciples, there was the Aryadeva, Buddha Palita, Chandrakirti, and so forth. And then amongst the disciples, there was because Buddha Palita was there, and he was a little bit thin, and Buddha Palita touched the Buddha Palita commentary, which Buddha Palita wrote on the head of Tsongkhapa. And then when Tsongkhapa later was reading Buddha Palita commentary, then he gained an unmistaken insight into the dependent origination, the suchness of dependent origination. So, of course, the Buddha taught dependent origination and emptiness. So, but to have the insight that sees that dependent origination means emptiness, and emptiness means the dependent origination, this certain certitude was gained by Tsongkhapa on the basis of Buddha Palita commentary. So the meaning of emptiness as a dependent origination as emptiness, he gained certitude in this through the help of Buddha Palita commentary. And therefore, he gained a special devotion to the Buddha. And so his followers should know that this text is full of blessings. So I received the reading and the transmission of this text from Ling Rinpoche and many other lamas, and also Gen Yima. And so with regard to my understanding of emptiness, the view of emptiness, I had discussions with Gen Yima. And Gen Yima said, and when he read the beginning of Zashi Tikchen by Tsongkhapa, which is a commentary on Mula Madhyamaka Karika. He read from the beginning of the text, and later he told me that he taught this text many times, but there was no one who raised questions like you. So he was very pleased with me. And so as far as I'm concerned, I have great faith in the teaching of emptiness. And so I am expecting to reach the path of preparation in this life. So His Holiness is reciting the chapter 6. the last 3 verses. Thus, illuminated by the rays of wisdom's light, the Bodhisattva sees as clearly as gooseberry on his open palm that the 3 realms in their entirety are unborn from their very start. And through the force of conventional truth, he journeys to cessation. 224. Though his mind may rest continuously in cessation, he also generates compassion for beings bereft of protection, and so forth. So these 3 verses, the 3 final verses of the 6th chapter. So through this, the wisdom of the conventional truth and the ultimate truth, one journeys to Buddhahood. So as time passes, months and years go by, and because of one's reflection on this teaching, one can see the profundity of this teaching. So this prayer to the lineage lamas of, lineage teachers of the profound view, beginning with the Buddha, and then Nagarjuna and so forth, and particularly Chandrakirti, who was a disciple of Guru Nagarjuna. So his writing I read every day. So I sometimes feel that I must have been a student somewhere at the end of the row of Chandrakirti's class. So I reflect on bodhicitta and emptiness, and it helps me. So and the understanding and being able to reflect that things have no existence from their own side, no objective existence, but are merely designated. So quantum physics also talks about things having no objective existence. They talk about things being projection of our mind. And so in our own text, good and bad, adverse enemies and friends are all projected by our mind or designated by our mind. And then Shantideva says, all suffering in the world comes from wishing oneself to be happy, and all happiness comes from wishing others to be happy. If you are not able to exchange your own bliss, joy and happiness with the suffering of others, leave alone reaching Buddhahood. Even in this cycle of existence, you will not have happiness. So these are what Shantideva says, and when you really reflect on these lines, it really gives joy. So though we are living in exile as refugees, there is no difference it makes no difference. The distance makes no difference. Therefore, people inside Tibet who have total faith in me and so Pandit Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, the then Indian Prime Minister, chose this place for me to stay. So though this place is far away from Tibet, but Tibetans inside Tibet, as this prayer goes, the lands surrounded by the snow-covered mountains, the Avalokiteshvara, Tenzin Gyatso, you are the source of all goodness and happiness. So, though I live in district Kangra in India, my mind always embraces all sentient beings in the 3 realms of existence, and particularly those in this world, and specifically the Tibetan people. So I always think of them. So when I do this Avalokiteshvara initiation, the main disciples or main people in my mind would be the ones who are gathered here directly, and then those inside Tibet who have total faith and devotion to me. I also visualize them to receive this. And then there are other people like Chinese in mainland China and so forth. So they also are comes under the purview of my visualization. So should we take tea first or have the teaching on So I will do the teaching on the text, the foundation of all excellences or good qualities. The foundation of all good qualities, I've received this in a transmission of this. The foundation of all qualities is the kind and perfect Guru. Correctly following the Guru is the root of the path. So, correctly following the Guru would help in purification of negativities and accumulation of merit. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please bless me to rely upon the Guru with great respect. When I have discovered that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once, it is extremely difficult to find again and is greatly meaningful. Please bless me to unceasingly generate the mind, taking its essence day and night. This body and life are changing, like a water bubble. Remember how quickly they perish and death becomes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, that the result of negative and positive karmas follow. And then the next verses. So this teaching on the text called the foundation of all excellences is finished. So while you take tea, I'll do the preparation for the initiation of Avalokiteshvara. Take your tea and bread in the meantime. So before doing this preparation, I will also have my bread. So then while I do the preparation, please recite the Mani mantra. So this is the prayer to Avalokiteshvara, which says, your 1,000 arms represent the 1,000 Chakravartis, your 1,000 eyes represent the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. And you appear, you help sentient beings in accordance with their mental dispositions, I prostrate to Avalokiteshvara. Please recite the mantra.
Donc,
So, in order to do the initiation of Avalokiteshvara, I will first have the preliminary process. So, some seeking to practice sacred mantra wish to enter the mandala here. Some others desire merit, and still others seeking something other than that. The intelligent ones who seek the future lives should faithfully strive for transcendence and enter the mandala and so forth. So, we are born in this world, but we will not live forever. Many of my friends have already passed away, and so death is something that is transient. Nothing is static. So things change and transform. So with regards to past and future lives, the Charvakas, or Lokayatas, one of the ancient Indian philosophical schools, do not believe in past and future lives. And whereas the other Indian philosophical schools do talk about past and future lives, and then there are the schools which assert liberation. And in Buddhism, and particularly the Sanskrit tradition, we talk about the reaching Buddhahood in the end as the ultimate goal. And so here in this text, some seeking to practice sacred mantra wish to enter the mandala here. Some others desire merit, and still others seeking something other than that. The intelligent who seeks future life should faithfully strive to transcend for transcendence and enter the mandala, not desiring the results for this life. And so here the students now visualize themselves transforming into a deity. So in order to do that, there may be external obstacles, but mainly it's our mind, which is to say our perception of ourselves as ordinary beings, and also the appearance of ourselves as ordinary beings. So clinging to that appearance, and therefore, and also holding on to true existence in things. And therefore, we need to meditate on emptiness. So with the reason that things are merely designated and been labeled, therefore they are empty of any independent existence. And so from within that meditation on emptiness, you arise into the deity, Avalokiteshvara. If one strives for this life alone, the purpose of future lives will not be fulfilled. Striving for the benefit of future lives will enhance the results in this one. Please repeat this. Oh, great bliss, you are my master. Oh, master, please pay attention to me. The firm way of great enlightenment, I beg you, O great protector, please grant me the pledges. The spirit of enlightenment, Bodhisattva, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, O protector, please lead me to the supreme city of liberation. So you need to repeat that. So the master says, my child, come here. I will correctly teach you this ritual of conduct. For the Mahayana secret mantra, you are a great and suitable vessel possessing the Vajra body, speech, and mind. All Buddhas of the three times found the perfect, unequaled, exalted wisdom through the power of Vajra mantra. The line of Shakyas, Shakyamuni, Israel Buddha, and the Supreme Ones used the unparalleled practice of secret mantra to destroy the hordes of incredible and powerful evils. After knowing the world would follow them, they turned the wheel of Dharma. And so, the main obstacle for our fulfillment of our goals is this holding on to ourselves as having some kind of ultimate, absolute existence. So, apart from Lokayatas or Charvakas, the other Hindu traditions also talk about past and future lives, but then they explain this on the basis of Atma, an independent soul. Whereas Buddhism says there is no such an independent soul as such, but that a self is designated on the basis of our psychophysical aggregates. So there is no beginning to our continuity of mind. The stream of mind or consciousness has no beginning. And then, though our aim, the final goal is Buddhahood, which is qualified by the 4 Buddha bodies. And having attained that, the purpose is to serve others until the end of space. So now the disciples arise into the Avalokiteshvara. Please repeat this. Oh, great bliss, you are my teacher. So, Master, please pay attention to me. The firm way of great enlightenment, I beg you, O great protector. Please grant me the pledges, the spirit of enlightenment, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. O protector, please lead me to the supreme city of liberation. And the Guru says, come here, my child. I correctly teach you this ritual of conduct for the Mahayana secret, and so forth. So, after knowing the world and would follow them, they turned the wheel of Dharma and passed into the state of beyond sorrow. So, in order to attain omniscience, my child, exert your intelligence. So next we are going to do the Bodhisattva vows. So we have obtained this human body and have met with the teaching of the Buddha. So what we need to think about is to serve all sentient beings, not only thinking of selfishly to help oneself. As Bodhisattva Charyavatara says, as long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of sentient beings. As long as space comes to an end, doesn't come to an end, may I too serve sentient beings. I will benefit all sentient beings. So today, having met with the Dharma and having the opportunity to practice the Dharma, we have the condition for this practice of serving others. And therefore, from life after life, so that we may be able to gain human life again and again and to serve others, we should think, to feel determined to serve others. Unless you exchange your bliss and have joy with the suffering of others, there's leave alone brotherhood. Even in samsara, there's no happiness. And so, if you remain selfish, you will not have true happiness. If you dedicate, or if you generate or develop altruistic intention to serve others, to help others, then you will have true happiness. So please repeat these lines of taking Bodhisattva vows. Please kneel on your right knee. It would be good to kneel on your right knee or sit crouched. If you have bad legs, it doesn't matter. Like me, then it's an exception. Please. So, having obtained this human life, having met with the Dharma, the Buddha's teaching, so, and having met with this teaching of the Buddha, which is logical, full of reasoning, and can be explained without any limits, unlike other religious traditions, like the theistic religious traditions, and also unlike the Charavakas, who say there's no past and future lives. But we believe in past and future lives, and there are people who remember their past lives. So people remember because there is past life. So when we talk about designating some being, a self, it is mainly designated on the basis of the mind stream, the continuum of the mind. And there are two causes for a mind or instance of mind to arise. One is called the cooperative cause or contributing factors, and then the other is called substantial cause. So, substantial cause refers to a previous moment of the mind. So, there is continuity of the mind, which serves as the substantial cause of a next moment of mind, and which is a suitable and compatible cause of the next moment of mind. And therefore, as long as you accept such a mind, you will see that it has its course and conditions. And so the substantial cause is a previous moment of the mind, which is similar to it. So there is no beginning to our continuity of our mind. But so far, as we are under the sway of karma and delusions, there is no freedom from suffering. So from my own experience, I can see that there is a possibility of weakening the strength of our clinging to an independent self. And so, with the three jewels, the Buddha as a teacher, the Dharma as the actual refuge, and this Sangha as our existence, think of reaching Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Please repeat this. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all my sins individually. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings. I take to my heart the Buddha's enlightenment. I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Community until I am enlightened. In order to fulfill the interests of myself and others, I generate the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta. By generating the mind of supreme enlightenment, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I engage in the supremely appealing conduct of enlightenment for the benefit of beings. May I attain Buddhahood. So here we say, by generating the mind of supreme enlightenment, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. So you are not leaving any sentient being out. So please repeat for the second time. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all my sins individually. I rejoice in the virtues of beings. I take to my heart Buddha's enlightenment. I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Community until I am enlightened. In order to fulfill the interest of myself and others, I generate the mind of enlightenment. By generating the mind of Supreme Enlightenment, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I engage in the supremely appealing conduct of enlightenment for the benefit of beings. May I attain Buddhahood. So, with regard to the practices of enlightened Buddhahood, Bodhisattvas, it is to think of benefiting all sentient beings, sparing none. So, when you have bodhicitta, you are happy in this life and the future lives. And so this is the onset of our true happiness. So in the text it also says, in order to fulfill the interest of myself and others, I generate mind of enlightenment. So there's nothing greater force than enlightenment to benefit oneself and others. Please repeat for the third time. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all my sins individually. I rejoice in the virtues of beings. I take to my heart Buddha's enlightenment. I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme community until I am enlightened. In order to fulfill the interests of myself and others, I generate mind of enlightenment. By generating a mind of supreme enlightenment, I shall invite sentient beings as my guests. I engage in the supremely appealing conduct of enlightenment for the benefit of beings. May I attain Buddhahood. So with bodhicitta, one is able to purify all negativities by itself, by this very factor, and also accumulate merit, purify negativities and accumulate merit. So with the help of bodhicitta, if you meditate on emptiness, you will be able to purify your negativities very powerfully. So please repeat again. I seek refuge in the three jewels. I confess all my sins individually. I rejoice in the virtues of beings. I take to my heart Buddha's enlightenment. I seek refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Community until I am enlightened. In order to fulfill the interests of myself and others, generate the mind for enlightenment. By generating the mind of supreme enlightenment, I shall invite all sentient beings as my guests. I engage in the supremely appealing conduct of enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. May I attain Buddhahood. So, with this, you have taken the Bodhisattva vows. And then receiving the blessings on the three places. So this is the action mantra for purifying water. And at the heart of the disciples, please imagine black five-pointed vajra, in the center of which is the black syllable hum on a sun. At the throat is red, 8-petaled lotus, in the center of which is red eye on the moon. And at your crown, on your crown is the white 8-spoked wheel, in the center of which is white om on a moon disk. And so with these three letters, the syllables, you are uttered by the master, your body, speech, and mind are blessed. And then you are also made offerings to you. And then you will be offered on your head a flower, and to your nose there is incense, and to your eyes the aluke or lamp, and then this perfume or scented water at your heart is offered. And then next is taking a handful of water, or giving a handful of water. Throwing the stick first. First is throwing the. So the water will be distributed. So take this blessed water. So to check which kind of spiritual feat or attainment you may be able to attain, you throw this stick in the tray by saying Om Bezar Hasaha mantra. Please repeat this mantra and imagine you are throwing the stick in the tray. Om Bezar Hasaha. So the tip of the stick pointed to the south. So the city that that is indicated is the increase. That of increase of. Then the water is blessed with the bum syllable. Next is giving the kusha grass. So this arises from the D syllable. This is to check your dream tonight. So the longer kusha grass has to go under your bed sheet, and the shorter one under your pillow. So you may dream of fighting with other people. And next is giving the protection string. This arises from the hum syllable. From the letter hum arises a red thread, 3 times the length of the disciple's body, with 3 knots. So bring it to my left, it's closer to me. So this mantra, Om Buddha Meti Raja Raksha Sarvasna Swaha. Used for protection. So this string goes on your left arm. And next is generating and maintaining delight. The presence of omniscience once in this world is intermittent, and therefore there are times when none arise at all. Their appearance is intermittent, like an Udam water flower, which blooms only once in 100 years. Those who have the power to not pass beyond sorrow for the sake of countless sentient beings without equal arise from the conduct of mantra, which is exceedingly rare. Throughout many millions of eons, I have performed all sorts of negative actions. Through seeing a mandala such as this, if I eradicate them all, I will be known. What need is there to speak about the limitless conduct of mantra? If I recite the sacred mantra of the protector, I will transform into the unsurpassable state. Those intelligent ones who are truly stainless engage in this supreme conduct to specify all suffering that arises in the miserable realms. You, O great beings, have found today that which is so hard to find. Whoever you are, all the victorious ones, together with the Great beings, please thoroughly uphold all teachings. And as you sleep tonight, you should say your prayers to your guru and deities and recite the Om Mani Padme Hum mantra, the 6-syllable mantra of Avalokiteshvara, and then fall asleep while doing the Mani mantra, and keep the shorter grass under your pillow and the longer one under your bed. So with this, we are done with the preliminary process of the initiation. And next, I'll do the teaching on the Buddha's, in praise of the Buddha for teaching dependent origination by Tsongkhapa. First, it begins with Namo Guru Manchu Goshaya. And then there is the 2 verses from Mula Madhyamaka Karika by Nagarjuna. So everyone has the book. So please look at the book. So these 2 verses that are recited are from Mula Madhyamaka Karika by Nagarjuna. So it goes through the 8
and then Dalai Tada Jimmy, Tenjimin. Oh, tell us about that.
So it goes through the 8 extremes of 8 extremes, such as association and so forth. He who speaks on the basis of seeing, this makes him as a knower and teacher unexcelled. By seeing that he becomes a knower unexcelled, and by speaking about it, the teacher becomes the unexcelled teacher. I bow to you, O conqueror, you who saw dependent origination and taught it. Whatever degeneration there is in the world, or misfortune in the world, the root of all these is ignorance. So ignorance here refers to this grasping and clinging to this independent self. So when we think about this as mine, we have the sense of an I, or the possessor, as if it is independent. And then also, because of this grasping at true existence of self, one also has the attachment to things. You taught that it is dependent origination, the seeing of which will undo this ignorance. So how can an intelligent person not comprehend that this path of dependent origination is the essential point of your teaching? This being so, who will find, O Savior, a more wonderful way to praise you than to praise for having taught the dependent origination through dependence? Whatsoever depends on conditions, that is devoid of intrinsic existence. What excellent instruction can there be more amazing than this proclamation? So, whatever things there are, in external or internal, there is nothing whatever which has any independent existence, which is not dependent on other factors. By grasping at it, the childish strengthen bondage to extreme views. For the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from the net of elaborations. So sometimes I get this understanding. So we have this sense of an I. We hold on to this sense of a self. So for the wise, this very fact is the doorway to cut free from net of elaborations. Means that this independent self does not exist. So for the child, that which strengthens the bondage to extreme views is a doorway to cut free from nets of elaborations for the wise. Since this teaching is not seen elsewhere, you alone are the teacher, like calling fox a lion for Tirthika. It would be a word of flattery. Wondrous teacher. So without understanding that things are merely dependent and relative, a wondrous teacher, a wondrous refuge, wondrous speaker, wondrous savior. I pay homage to that teacher who taught well dependent origination. To help heal sentient beings, O benefactor, you have taught the peerless reason to ascertain emptiness, the heart of the teaching. So because things arise through dependence on causes and conditions, so all these changes that happen before me are the play of the unchanging emptiness, as Jangye Rebbe Doji says. This way of dependence, as those who perceive it as contradictory or unestablished, how can they comprehend your system? For you, one who sees emptiness in terms of meaning of dependent origination, then being devoid of intrinsic existence and possessing valid functions do not contradict. So regarding this emptiness and dependent origination, dependence does not do away with emptiness, and origination shows that things are conventional, that they are So this verse from Pelmartepa by John Lama Rinpoche is very meaningful. So by dependence, we are not rejecting emptiness. By origination, we are not rejecting the conventionalities of things. So verse number 21, 22, being enslaved by ignorance, those who fiercely oppose you. What is so astonishing about their being unable to bear the sound of no intrinsic existence? But of course, because of their own philosophical schools, they are not to be blamed. But having accepted, verse number 23, having accepted dependent origination, the precious treasure of your speech. For example, the Sautrantika philosophical school within Buddhism do assert that things are dependent. But while asserting it, they also assert that things have some objective existence. So then not tolerating the roar of emptiness. This I find amazing indeed. The door that leads to no intrinsic existence, this excellent door of dependent origination, through its name alone, if one grasps at intrinsic existence, now this person who lacks the unrivaled entrance, well traveled by the noble ones, by what means should one guide him to the excellent path that pleases you? So with regard to the teaching of dependent origination or dependent arising, all the teachings of the Buddha, all the 84,000 teachings were given on the basis of this intrinsic nature, uncreated and non-contingent. Dependent origination, contingent and created. How can these two converge upon a single basis without contradiction? Therefore, whatever originates dependently, though primordially free of intrinsic existence, appears as if it does possess intrinsic existence. So you taught all this to be illusion-like. Through this very fact, I understand well the statement that to what you have taught, to those opponents who challenge you cannot find faults that accord with reason. Why is this so? Because by declaring these chances for reification and denigration towards things seen and unseen are made most remote. So the Buddha says that he cannot remove our suffering. He cannot remove our non-virtuous actions. He cannot wash away our sins. So through this very fact, path of dependent origination, the rationale for your speech being peerless, convictions arise in me also that your other words are valid too. You who speak excellently by seeing it as it is. For those who train in your footsteps, all generations will become remote, for the root of all faults will be undone. But those who turn away from your teaching, though they may struggle with hardship for a long time, faults increase evermore, as if being called forth, for they make firm the view of self. Aha, when the wise comprehend the difference between these two, why would they not at that point revere you from the depths of their being? So, this teaching of dependent origination of the Buddha is something that can be established and proved through reason and logic, and therefore we can defeat the opponents. So, Master Nagarjuna's Mula Madhyamaka Karika, the fundamental verses of the middle way treatise. So, there are 27 chapters in this text, the fundamental verses of the middle way, they're called wisdom. Last year, verse number 39, 40, and 41. For its sake, you have given away again and again over countless eons, sometimes your body, at others your life, as well as your loving kin and resources of wealth. So the Buddha gave all these teachings for us. And the Buddha's teaching that are translated into Tibetan comprise over 108 volumes. And then the commentarial treatises by Indian masters make up over 220 volumes in Tibetan translation. So, of course, Songtsen Gampo married Chinese princess, and though he married a Chinese princess, he was very determined to have our own writing system. And therefore, during his time, the Tibetan script was devised. And in the 7th century, that was in the 7th century. And then later, during King Tsong Detsen's time, when Master Abbot Chandarakshita came to Tibet, he advised Tibetans to translate the teachings of the Buddha into our own language. He said, since you have your own written language, you should do that. So, Abbot Chandarakshita advised to translate the teachings into our language. And then later, Kamalashila, who was a disciple of Chandarakshita, was invited to Tibet as well. And at that time, Kamalashila and Chinese, there were also Chinese monks, meditators. And on one side of the king, who sat in the beginning of the row and in the center, and then on his right was Kamalashila, and on the left were the Chinese meditators. And so they had discussion, and then the Chinese were defeated. And so after that, the Dharma emperor, the religious emperor Tsong Detsen, asked the Chinese meditators to leave Tibet. And so he found that the Indian tradition of analyzing and investigating the teaching of the Buddha is more suitable to the Tibetan mind. And so the Chinese were sent back to China. And therefore, there was the tradition of studying the teaching of the Buddha. So we studied the teaching of the Buddha for about 30 years at least. So in India today, we have today we don't have the scholars who the same caliber of scholarship that we used to have. And then regarding myself, I have studied the collected topics, the study of mind and logic and reasoning. And so I was very lazy to pursue my studies. I was interested more in playing games. But when I look back today, I feel that the studies that I had done in the past, and particularly my teacher, Ling Rinpoche, who taught me the philosophical texts, I feel very grateful for them. So in the past, we had great seats of learning, which were the main centers of learning Buddhist philosophy, logic, and so forth. And today, they are re-established in India. And so they are doing very well in their pursuit of this study. And so even the Western scientists today rely on the Tibetan scholars for understanding the workings of our mind and emotions. There's no other source than the Buddhist teachings that they can learn from. So I studied the philosophical texts while indulging in my games and sports, and with the help of Gengodu Tsogni, who was one of my assistants in debate assistants. So amongst the debate assistants, there were scholars from Debung Losaling, Debung Gomang, Sarah Che, Sarah Me, and Garden Shartse and Garden Changse, and also the Deyang monasteries. So the one from Deyang, the debate assistant to me, I was able to defeat him. Sometimes I try to deceive him also. So Ngortup Songye, a Mongolian master, was the main person who actually directed me to study debate in this way, that way, and so forth. So he guided me how to debate well. And then after finishing my studies, I sat for Geshe examination, went to Garden and these big monasteries, and therefore, in the end, I became a Geshe. So when I meet with the modern scientists and have discussions with them, I find my mind is not too poor compared with them. So because of our tradition of using logic and reasoning in our study of Buddhist philosophy and logic, my mind is very good at investigating in the nature of things. So we are followers of the Buddha. So to you, the students, I wish to say that you don't need to be a monk or nun, but you need to study the teaching of the Buddha. So whether you are lay persons or monastics, you should study. Buddhist philosophy. And then the teachers of philosophy in the schools also should do well, work hard to teach their students Buddhist philosophy. So after coming into exile, I requested the Prime Minister of India at that time, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, to have separate schools for our Tibetan children because we have our own language. So we had a lunch together, and at that lunch, Nehru instructed the education minister at that time, Shri Mali, to set up separate Tibetan schools for Tibetan children. And so if we look back in history, we can see that Tibetans are a great people. So we should study the Buddhist philosophy. I am supposed to be a Geshe also, and so we should study the Buddhist philosophy, which has come down to us from the Nalanda monastic institution. And because we use logic and reasoning in our study of Buddhist philosophy, this helps us to see contradictions in the talks that the scientists, modern scientists give. So when we point out, if you say this, then from your talk, you also say this. And because of that, you have to also assert this, and so forth. So we can point their shortcomings through investigative mind. And so we don't have to talk about religious faith here, but we should learn logic and reasoning. So without any faith, without talking about believe in a religion or not, we still need to use logic. And so it is very helpful to have this kind of inquisitive mind. So whether you are a Buddhist or not, whether you are a believer or not, if you learn logic and reasoning, it will be very helpful. And so that's all I have to say today. So verse number 48, the Night Lily Grove, 49, the Night Lily Grove, Nagarjuna's treatises. Nagarjuna, whom you prophesied. So in my residence, I have Nagarjuna, a Buddha statue, and then below that Buddha statue, I have the statues of Manjushri and Nagarjuna. And so I recite these verse which praise the Buddha and Nagarjuna and Manjushri. So there are other masters like Dignaga and Dhammakirti and so forth also. And then I read Chandrakirti's text, Madhyamaka Avatara and its auto-commentary. So because of reading Master Chandrakirti's text, I feel sometimes that I must have been a student of Master Chandrakirti somewhere at the end of the row in the class. So verse number So Master Chandrakirti's text so Master Chandrakirti says, towards the end of this 6th chapter, although some may be very learned, but without the previous imprints from the past life, one may not be able to fathom the depth of the profound emptiness. So at the end of the text, the Master Chandrakirti Madhyamaka Avatara, he says, this suchness just explained is most profound and terrifying, yet people with past habituation will certainly realize it. Others, however, despite vast learning, will fail to comprehend. So this, those who fail to comprehend include masters like Vasubandhu, Dignaga, and Dharmapala. So this teaching of the Buddha that we have in Tibet is something which is based on logic and reasoning, and through the study of logic and epistemology as well. And therefore, as we have separate Tibetan schools established for Tibetan children, we should study the Buddhist logic, and reason to understand the teaching of the Buddha that we have.
Yeah.
Verse number 49 of in praise of Tibetan origination. The night lily grove of Nagarjuna's treatise, Nagarjuna, whom you prophesied, would unravel your unexalted vehicle as it is, shunning extremes of existence and non-existence. So I reflect on these lines. Following that search, verse number 53, following such a teacher and having become a renunciant, having studied the conqueror's words not too poorly, this monk who strives in the yogic practices, such is the depth of his reverence to this great seer. So I reflect on bodhicitta and a view of emptiness. Since it is due to the teacher's kindness, I have met with the teaching of the unexalted teacher. I dedicate this virtue towards the cause for all beings to be sustained by the sublime spiritual mentors. May the teaching of this beneficent one, till world's end, be unshaken by the winds of evil thoughts. May it always be filled with those who find conviction in the teacher by understanding the teaching's true nature. May I never falter, even for an instant, to uphold the excellent way of the sage, which illuminates the principle of Tibetan origination through all my births, even giving away my body and life. May I spend day and night carefully reflecting, but by what means can I enhance this teaching achieved by the Supreme Savior through strenuous efforts over countless eons? As I strive in this with pure intention, may Brahma, Indra, and the world's guardians and protectors, such as Mahakala, unswervingly always assist me. So His Holiness just finished the concluding ritual of this preliminary process of the initiation of Avalokiteshvara. And now the three auspicious verses of auspiciousness in connection with the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So with this, we are done with the preliminary process of the initiation. Tomorrow will be the actual initiation of Avalokiteshvara.